Alright, so while I was in Copenhagen recently, I was lucky enough to get a chance to take an up-close look at the Polestar Precept concept vehicle, which is going to become the Polestar 5, and it tells us an awful lot about what Polestar is planning to do for the future of their EV lineup. So I wanted to do a deep dive on that and talk a bit about what it looks like they'll be doing in the future. So stick with me, and we'll get into it.
Is that talking to move?
Right, so first off, I wanted to thank Morten and his team at Polestar Copenhagen for showing me the Precept car and letting me film it, even while they had some other journalists and a bunch of events going on there. It's really helpful and great to spend that time talking together about it and learning more about what Polestar plans to do in the future. So for people that don't know, Polestar started off as a tuning company for Volvos, and then ended up getting acquired by Volvo, and since then has been largely building off of the Volvo platform and using a lot of the Volvo parts to make their cars. So each new model that they've come out with has been more and more customized and less built on Volvo and more kind of custom built. So the Polestar 1 was largely Volvo parts. It was a plug-in hybrid and really kind of the first car that Polestar put out under their own brand, but not a true EV. The Polestar 2, which is the one that is out now and you see most often, was built entirely off of Polestar tech, but still using a lot of Volvo parts to get it out. First true EV from them, but still utilizing a lot of those Volvo underpinnings to get the car out. And then later this year, actually about next month in October, they'll be fully unveiling the Polestar 3, which is going to be their first SUV. And that is going to be built entirely by Polestar and actually built in both China and the US. So it'll be the first car that they have that is coming out of US factories. A bit later on, they'll have the 4, which is going to be another SUV. But then beyond that, they're going to have the Polestar 5, which is being designed and built entirely from the ground up to set the vision of Polestar for the future as well. Not only with the drivetrain, but also aerodynamics, the styling, and materials that they're using to really put a focus on sustainability and tie the environmentalism to the rest of the car. So the Polestar 3 will be the first SUV from the company. It actually will have an NVIDIA-powered display using their graphics cards, and it's going to be debuting in October of this year. And it'll be the first car that they're building in the US, which, depending on pricing and some other factors, may make it eligible for some of the tax credits, which would be the first time for them. And first time under the new rules, at least. So the Precept that I was able to see is a concept car, but unlike other traditional concept cars that never become real, this was built to be as close to what they think can be realistic as possible while still showcasing a bunch of futuristic technologies and materials that they want to use in it. But it should be pretty close to what the final car ends up being. So this is going to become the Polestar 5. So the vision for the Polestar 5 is that it's going to be Polestar's Grand Touring sedan. Large family sedan, bit sporty, luxurious, and lots of room, perfect for those long road trips and kind of as a cruiser to go long distances. So it'll be a direct competitor with the Lucid Air, Tesla Model S, Mercedes EQS, and Porsche Taycan. And the design language itself is going to carry over to the rest of Polestar's lineup, including the 3. So some of the standout features on the Precept are the human-machine interface, or HMI, which is what they're calling the display and UI. So like the Polestar 2, it's going to be using Google's Android Automotive software, but one unique thing it's going to have is using eye tracking to dynamically adapt the display as you're driving and move things around depending on where you're looking. So it's got a 15-inch main display and then a 12.5-inch diagonal digital cluster, which will show speedometer, navigation, and some other features right in front of the steering wheel. Another big standout feature is the use of sustainable materials inside the car. So they're going to be using 100% recycled PET bottles for the seats. The carpets are made of recycled fish nets, and they're actually pioneering some technology for the collection of those and the manufacture of carpets from the fibers from it. And then they're also using cork, some of which is discarded from the winemaking process for some of the interior materials. They're also using flax fiber to build composites for the seats. That's unique because flax does not require chemicals for shaping. It can be done all mechanically. It's also lighter on some of the external parts that they're going to be using, which means better efficiency, and it will have tougher crash resistance. It also absorbs more sound, so they're claiming that it should be 250% more sound absorption, and that'll make it a more comfortable ride as well as a quieter one. And so their goal is to optimistically launch this in 2024, and so far it seems like they're at least on track for that. One of the things that I really like is that the Precept and the 5 that it'll become carries the styling accents with these yellow seat belts that were also on the 1 and the 2, available like in the performance package. And I like that these are actually meant to be a nod to Volvo, who invented the seatbelt, and it kind of carries forward the overall theme that Volvo has of being, really safety first and conscious of passenger safety, and true innovator in the space, which I think is really cool. One thing that it has that really stands out, but probably will not make it onto the production model, are these digital mirrors that are on the door sills instead of being regular side view mirrors. That's also almost certainly going to change for production because, as designed, they're not necessarily legal in all of the places that it's going to be sold, including the US. So expect to see much more conventional side mirrors in the future, which is a bit of a shame because I think they're pretty cool. It also has flush door handles like a lot of other EVs, especially the higher end ones that kind of come out and present themselves to you when you walk over with the key. And then, like all of the other Polestars and Volvos, it has these Thor hammer. That's what they call the headlight design. And I like that styling cue carries through the entire range as well. And so some of the things we're not totally sure about yet, but are being guessed based off of what has been shown so far, is that it's probably going to get over 300 miles of range, since it's competing with Taycan, Model S, EQS, Lucid Air, all of which get closer to 400 or even over. It's going to have to get at least 300 to be competitive with those, and more realistically will probably be somewhere around 400. It's going to have a 103 kilowatt hour battery and dual electric motors, which will give it 884 horsepower, which is substantially more than even the performance variants of the Polestar 2. So it'll definitely be a pretty kicky car for a family cruiser. It'll probably start around $100,000, which is where most of those competitors are. It'll be built in China for sure. They're building a new factory there, which is meant to be truly net zero emissions. But there's a potential that some may end up getting built at the new US plant that the Polestar 3 is going to be built at as well. The initial prototype had a large LiDAR sensor on the roof, hinting at advanced autonomous driving capabilities, but that has since been removed and you don't see it here. So it seems more likely that they'll be using a camera system and probably have more functionality similar to what the Polestar 2 does, which has lane keeping assist and adaptive cruise control. So probably nothing beyond that, so don't expect a true robo-taxi from this. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that we know about the Polestar Precept and what will become the Polestar 5. I think it's a really cool looking car. It's really neat to see them go from something that was so futuristic and concept-y to be able to maintain so much of that in what is probably going to be the production car. So I'm really excited to see this come out in a couple of years, and I'll certainly be tracking the progress on it closely, as well as the other variants of Polestar. So be excited to see the 3 coming out, or at least announced in October, and the 4 coming a bit later than that. I think Polestar is really doing some pretty cool stuff in the EV space. They don't get a lot of credit for some of the cool stuff that they're doing, but I think quietly one of the more compelling EVs out there on the market right now. Really enjoyed my test drive. If you haven't watched that video, you can find the link up here. And I really was surprised with not only how well it drove, but just the comfort, some of the great entertainment and media options in it. I really like the built-in Google Android Automotive, which I can never get the name right, but I wrote it down this time so that I wouldn't forget. I think they need to fix their naming scheme, but it is a really compelling feature to have that just built into the car, as well as the ability to plug in with CarPlay and Android Auto also to get all the apps from your phone. Plus having, the safety from Volvo and being able to leverage Volvo's huge network for maintenance and service is really awesome as well. And they've been able to keep their prices pretty compelling as well. So I'm excited to see Polestar continue to grow as a brand and what they're going to be able to do in the future. So yeah, I saw a ton of them around Norway and Denmark, a few around Germany too, and I'm starting to see more and more of them out here on the roads in New Jersey too. So I think people are finally catching on with what Polestar is doing, and I think it's a good thing to have more competition in the space, and I think it's great that they're expanding across so much more of the range. We need EVs everywhere, not only the smaller, more compact family sedans and compact crossover SUVs. Not every car needs to be a Model 3 or Y. I know they're the most popular ones, but it's certainly important to get the bigger family SUVs and have options like these Grand Tourers out there also. So I think it's great that they are going to have these in the next couple of years, and really excited to see what they do in this space. Plus, they'll have the Roadster coming out a little bit beyond that as well, based off the indications right now. So fortunately, I could not place my $25,000 deposit on that because I didn't have the money. So I won't be getting one of the first 250 of those in the LA launch edition. But we'll see what they end up coming up with there. I'm hoping that might be something I'm able to get by the time it actually comes out. All right, so hope you found that useful deep dive into Polestar and what their plans for the future are. I think it really informs a lot of what the rest of the industry is doing, and I'm excited to see Polestar continue to grow as a EV first brand, and see how they're able to compete in increasingly competitive and growing space. So thanks again to the folks of Polestar Copenhagen for showing me the car and letting me poke around. And hope you found that interesting. If you did, please do hit that like button. It helps the channel out quite a bit, helps me keep making these. And if you like this kind of content and are excited to hear about some of the other things that I've got coming, there's a ton of other stuff coming to this channel. A lot more Tesla focus coming soon because I had to take a break from that while we were on vacation. But I've got a bunch more accessories coming, and we're over 3,000 miles on the Model Y now, so I want to do an update video on that too. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of that. Hit that bell so that you know the second videos come. And if you've got any questions or comments about the Polestar, definitely leave them in the comments below. With that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.